Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about a topic called leader and leadership. So let us start with the class. So what is a leader? A leader is a person who has been spontaneously considered or chosen as being influential according to Dhamma and Bhatnagar. Leader is a servant of the group. The position of the leader is an essential mechanism of effective group organization according to Sanderson. Then according to J.S. Gang, leaders are persons who are selected by the people because of the special interest or fitness to work on several phases of the local programs. Then according to B.M. Stockdale, a leader is the one who in a social situation can elicit or stimulate the positive reaction from other members of the group. So if you see in all these definition, a leader is a person. Alright, I will just explain to you in a nutshell about what is a leader in a very short and simple language, right? A leader is a person who is having the ability to maintain a good interpersonal relations with the followers or subordinates and motivate them to help in achieving the goals and objective of the organization. Now we know that leader is a person and leadership is simply a process. It is a process by which a leader can direct, guide, and influence the behavior and work of others towards accomplishment of specific goals in a given situation. So all these definition here you can take it by yourself and you can write any one of the definition, right? So but in general, if I sum up or summarize all this, I can simply say that leadership is the ability. It is the ability to persuade others to seek the defined objective enthusiastically. It is a human factor which binds a group together and motivate it towards the goal. So a leader is a person and leadership is the ability to persuade others to seek defined objective enthusiastically. It is the human factor which binds a group together and motivate it towards goal. Now let us see the functions of a leader. What are the main functions of the leader? A leader is not a lay figure. Please keep that in your mind. He has much to do. The functions may be relatively straightforward. In the wake of the vast and rapid technological changes, the leader has to perform a multivarious function. According to Bernard, there are four main functions. Number one, determination of objectives. Determination of objectives means that a leader is a person who find out or state out the fact or the reality of what is happening in the organization. He set up the goals and objectives for the organization. Number two, manipulation of means. Manipulation of means that the leader, they are the people who can use their social influence that aims to change the behavior or perception of the others through their tactics or method by making the organization more fruitful. So they should be able to use their tactic and methods so that they will be able to run their organization properly. Then control of the instrumentality of action. The leader should be able to serve as an instrument or means in order to overcome any course of action that is happening in the organization. They should be able to control the situation. They should be able to handle what is happening in the organization. Then the stimulation of coordination of action. A leader is a person who is able to coordinate his followers. What is the objective and goals and mission and vision of the organization? He should be able to communicate well with his followers so that it will help the communication for the future course of action of the organization. According to Dhamma and Bhatnagar, the following are the functions of a leader. Number one, executive. Executive means that the coordinating group activities and overseeing the setting of policies and goals. The function of the leader should be able to coordinate the group activities and overseeing the setting of policies and goals. Number 2, a planner. That means he deciding how the group will achieve its goals. He should be able to plan. How will the organization will run without planning, right? The good leader should be able to decide how his group, how the organization will achieve its goal. Then we have the policy maker. That means establishing the policies and goals of the organization. Expert in human relations as well as technical field. He should be an expertise not only in the field of technology but both in human relationship and technical field. A person or who is a leader should be able to develop a sense of relationship between him and his employees. He should be able to develop this relationship so that his organization will work well. And also he should be expert in handling the technical knowledge, right? Then external group representative. That means that the leader should speak for the group with others. He should always represent his group, not by just sitting behind and call them, some leader will call themselves a leader, but they never speak for the group. Then we have controller of internal relations. That means determining the social structure of the group. Next we have is the purveyor of rewards and punishment. A leader should be able to control the members by punishing them and also by giving them reward. Then we have arbitrator. Arbitrator and mediator. The arbitrator and mediator are, that means the leader should be able to resolve the dispute in the group. If there is some problem between the group members, he should be able to resolve that dispute. Then exemplar. Exemplar, that means behaving in a way that others should behave. Then group symbols. A leader function is to act as a symbolic embodiment of the group, its goals and its values. He should act accordingly. He should be the symbols so that the other group will also look at him, right? Then we have the surrogate of individual responsibility. That means relieving individuals of the need and responsibility of the personal decision. Then he should be idealist or ideologist. That means he should be the source of beliefs and values of the organization. Then father figure. Father figure, that means focus for positive emotional feelings of individual and the object for identification and transference. I will repeat, father figure means focus for positive emotional feelings of individual and the object for identification and transference. Then scapegoat. Acting as a target of aggression and hostility, taking the blame on behalf of the group. If there is something wrong in the organization, he should be a scapegoat. He should be a father figure. Father figure, again I'll repeat, he should always focus for positive emotional feelings of individual and the object for identification and transference. And scapegoat meaning that he should always take the blame on behalf of the group. Now let us see the classification of leaders. Different authors classified the leaders in different ways. Some of the classification are, according to Beale, Bolland and Rodebuck, they classified the leaders into 4 types. Number 1, born leaders. So these born leaders are people with an innate capacity to effectively manage and lead the group of people to achieve collective goals. Instead of learning to become an effective leader, they have the instinctive ability to inspire others and encourage them to follow their vision. Employees feel more comfortable accepting instruction and trusting the natural born leaders. For example, now if you have the following traits, that means you are a born leader. Okay, I'll just give you an example. you do see, when you can become a leader and obtain the quality of a leader through the outside experience, through your hard work, or you can change your qualities of developing your skill. Okay, that is the other way. And one way is that you already have this quality because you are a born leader. For example, the natural born leader, they display a genuine passion for their work. They follow their dreams and live by their ideals. They help the team members to understand. They know, they find purpose for their work. Then number two, they are the great listener. They listen, they pay attention to what the other people are speaking. They will respond thoughtfully and ask questions to clarify when needed. Then they don't overwork themselves. The highly successful leaders know the work-life balance is important. They encourage others to take time away from work when they need it. Then they constantly learn new things. They help in developing the self-confidence. They have that self-confidence. The natural born leaders know that they can accomplish the goals, so they trust in their intuition when they need to make a choice. They unite the employees. The born leaders have the natural ability to join employees in a common cause or goals. So the born leaders is a person who have already the qualities within them without the interference from the outside force. Then we have the passive leaders. What is this passive leaders? The passive leaders are those who avoid or delay taking necessary action when problems arise, and in particular refrain from rewarding and punishing employees when they should. These leaders have a negative impact on how employees perceive their roles and can cause role conflict, ambiguity, and overload. So these passive leaders, they are those who are avoiding any of the action that they need to take when there is a problem within the organization. Then we have a bureaucratic leaders. The bureaucratic leadership relies on a clear chain of command, strict regulations, and conformation by its followers. So the theory behind the bureaucratic leadership was developed by Max Weber, the sociologist who also came up with the idea of the transactional leadership. He grew up during a period of industrialization and saw how society was moving towards larger organization, from giant factories to sprawling farm. He came with this theory in response to the growing need for a more efficient system to run these entities, which had historically relied on favoritism. So the Weber's theory around the bureaucratic leadership is based on the 6 core tenets. Number one we have is that the hierarchy of authority. Hierarchy, I hope you remember, there is a change of command which clearly define the roles and expectation of each level of the authority. Then there is a division of labor. There is a formal selection. There is a career orientation. There are rules and regulation, and there is also impersonality. So I hope you are clear with the bureaucratic leader. So the bureaucratic leaders are those leaders who rely on the rules and regulations and conformation by its followers. Then we have the democratic leaders. The democratic leaders are those type of leaders who are involving participative role in the decision making and is considered as highly effective, especially when we see our own country. India is a democratic country, right? So the leadership that runs here is according with the people, and they are also helping the people and go accordingly to what the people want. And he also participate in the decision making process by going together with what the people want and what they need in the society. Then we have this type of leaders is the one who invites the participation from others in the organization as a part of the decision making process. So everyone is encouraged to participate, leading to increase the feelings of involvement, recognition, and satisfaction of the organization. Next we have is according to Mott, he spoke about three major leadership categories, that is democratic, multi-factor and situational. So I'm not going to discuss about democratic because I've already discussed that. Then second we have is a multi-factor. A multi-factor leader is those type of leader who can make use of their leadership style in various factor that is going on in the society. So we also have the multi-factor leadership questionnaire. That means to check out the leaders how they can perform the various role in the society. So the leadership is this type of leadership is based on all the different types of the categories of the leader that we already have in the society. Then we have the situational leader. A situational leadership's quality are those type of leadership which is adaptability. Okay, adaptability. We can say that these leaders are very adaptable because they are taking part in during the situation. For example, let's take an example of a coaching leader. Okay, a coaching leader is a person who coach the people. So that is also a situation. They are the leaders who are using their leadership style based on the situation. And we have another. According to Henning, 1962 analyzed the leadership and given the following three: autocrat, bureaucrat, and neurocrat. The autocrat, neurocrat, and bureaucrat. Autocrat leadership are those type of leadership which is also known as an authoritarian leadership. It is a leadership style characterized by the individual control over all the decision and little input from the group members. So these type of leaders are very bossy in nature. They like to command the people to do what they want. This is like a dictatorship style. They are setting their goals and objectives based on what they want. They make choices based on their ideas and judgment. I rarely accept advice from the followers. They rarely accept the advice from the followers. Then we have the bureaucrats. Bureaucrats have already explained. That is the leadership style that is based on the handling of the position, or it is a leadership style that is based on the rules and regulation by its followers. And it is different from the autocrat because an autocrat leadership style is slightly different from the bureaucrats, because in the bureaucrat the people are still giving a chance to participate in the business decision making based on their ability or based on their factor that they can be able to perform well in the organization. Whereas an autocratic leaders, they are the leadership style which the member are, if they have this type of leadership style, that means the autocrat leaders, they are typically make choice based on their ideas and judgment, and they rarely accept the advice from the followers. Like I've said, the autocratic leaders are the leadership who are bossy in nature, and we can also call them a dictatorship style because they allow little or no input from group members. Then they leave the group feelings like they aren't entrusted with decision or important tasks. Then they discourage their creativity and out of the box thinking. Then they establishes their rules and trends to be clearly outlined and communicated. And these type of leaderships are, they often clear a change of command or oversight, right? But we also see the drawbacks of this leadership, which we will also be studying in the next slide. Okay, I will show you more about the autocratic leader. Then we have the neurocratic leader. What are the neurocratic leader? The neurocratic leaders are those type of leadership who are using their sensitive emotion, and they are eccentric in nature. They take decision by themselves. Some of the leaders, they wanted to achieve their goal so much that they are using all their ability, their sensitive, their emotion, like I've said. They wanted to just achieve the goals and objectives, So these people are very highly task oriented people. The leaders who are the neurotic leaders are very highly task oriented. They want to get the work done by any cost. If these type of leaders are very upset if they fail in something, they are unable to achieve what they want, they become upset. Okay, they become upset, and they feel like, yes, I should do the work, I should do the work, I should complete this type of work, that I cannot become a loser, I cannot become a failure, I have to complete my work. They are very like I've said, they just want to get the work done by any cost. They take their own decision. Now when we see about the bureaucrat leaders, these bureaucratic leaders, they follow the rules and formalities of the organization. Okay, next we have is a classification of the leader according to Lester: autocratic, democratic, and free reign. I have explained the autocratic leader, I have explained the democratic leader. Now I will explain the free reign leader. Okay, the free reign leader, also known as the laissez-faire leader. Okay, laissez-faire leader. These type of leadership are passive in nature. He only acts as a contact man. He provides information and resources to his subordinates. He believes that the subordinates or his group members will work best if they are left alone. Therefore, he gives them complete freedom to take their own decision. He allows them to plan and organize their own work. He allows them to set their own goals and to solve the problems on their own. Think of the laissez-faire leader if you have a class representative. When I will ask who is a class representative, someone of you will say that he will point out Suraj. Suraj is a class representative. But then Suraj never do any work, okay, for the class, for the group, for your group. He don't do any work. He only depends on the other students to do their work. But when I will just ask who is the leader, then Suraj will stand. But I've never seen him taking any initiative when when I reschedule the class. He will not even inform to the classmate. When there is a decision related to any of the problem that is happening within the classroom, he will not take any responsibility. He believes that his classmate will solve the problem by themselves. That is how a laissez-faire leadership style or a free reign leadership style is. Number 5, we have the classification of leader according to Heyman, 1951. Number A is executive. I have already explained the executive leadership is the ability of those who manage or direct the employees in the organization to influence and guide them. So they oversee the goals and objectives, and they develop a strategic plan for the organization. If the leader is an executive leadership, he will execute the plan. He will help in the developing of the overall functioning and develop a strategic plan for this organization. Then we have the judge. Okay, the judge leadership qualities are those qualities in which the person is having a judicial temperament. We can say he is patient, he is open-minded, he is courtesy, tact, courage, he is punctual, he is firmness, he is having the understanding, compassion, humility, and common sense. So when we talk about this type of leadership, are those people who are having the quality as a judge. And what is a judge? A judge is a person who will be having some of the traits like they are having good knowledge, they have good sense of humor, they are open-minded, they are open courage, they are punctual, they can speak well in public, right? Then we have the advocate. The advocate type of leadership are those type of leadership which has the which take their responsibility very seriously. The advocate is like a fierce guardian who protects the mission along with the team and is willing to suffer on their behalf. This is the advocate style is one of the leadership quality that they are having is a scapegoat. So they will always take the blame to themselves. So they will try to see their client and they will always see it through to their completion of that they should be able to get the aim and objective of the organization. They should reach the goals and objective of the organization. They should fulfill that objective and goals. That is the advocate type of leadership. Then we have the expert leadership. The expert leadership are those type of leaders who are expertise, okay, who are expertise. They are the expert. They are based on their ability, knowledge. They are the competence as a leader. They handle the situation skillfully with their talent because they are expert, right? When you are expert in something, that means you are good in what you are doing. So when the leaders is having an expert leadership, that means they are based on their ability, knowledge, and competency of the leader. He handled the situation skillfully with his talent. When we have this type of leader, we feel relief because we are working under an expert person. Then we also have a discussion leader. A discussion leader are those type of leader who are helping the people to discuss about certain problem, or they plays a very important role in the organization. So when I mention about the discussion of leadership style, that means that these people are able to discuss about your problems. They are also having a little bit of the traits of the expert, because they will be focusing on discussion and desire of what is the outcome of the organization. Then we also have the classification according to Carter. According to Carter, the leaders are classified under the following types. Number one is personal leaders. The personal leadership is the ability to develop and utilize your positive leadership traits to guide the direction of your life instead of letting time and chance determine your course. Then we have the institutional leaders. The institutional leadership is concerned about establishing and protecting the institutional values and character. Okay, they are concerned with what? Establishing and protecting the institutional values and characters. Whereas the personal leadership, okay, the personal leadership is the ability to develop and utilize your positive leadership traits to guide the direction of your life instead of letting time and chance determine your course. Personal leadership can begin when you decide to be your own life coach and live by a personal mission, statement, and reflect your values and life goals. That is the meaning of the personal leadership. And then we have the flexible leadership. The flexible leaders are those who can modify their style or approach to leadership in response to uncertain or unpredictable circumstances. In addition, the flexible leaders can adapt to changes as they come. They can revise their plans to incorporate new innovation and overcome challenges while still achieving their goal. They are flexible in nature. It's a simple definition of the flexible leader. They can modify their style or approach of leadership in any situation, any circumstances. Then according to Sachdeva and Vidyabhushan, they study three main leadership styles, that is authoritarian, democratic, and laissez-faire. This I've already discussed. According to Dahama and Bhatnagar 1985, these are the ways in which they are classifying the leaders. Number one is democratic, autocratic, and laissez-faire leader, that I've already explained. Formal and informal leaders. The formal leaders is a member of any organization who has given authority by virtue of his position to influence other members of the organization to achieve the organizational goals. Whereas the informal leaders, they possess a strong self-motivation, possess a positive attitude, motivate others, and put efforts to drive the organizational goals. So if you remember the group, we also have the formal and informal. So formal is within the proper structure, proper authority, proper terms of the organization. Whereas the informal leaders, we tend to describe them based on their relationship and connection. So we have the informal leaders given in the group. When we see about the group, we see that the informal type of relationship is family members, right? Whereas a formal type of relationship can be the organization, a group of people working together in an organization. They form a formal system of working within the organization. So in the same way, the formal and informal leaders are also that the formal leaders, they have to go according to the rules and regulations and authority and structure of the organization, whereas the informal, they doesn't go to that. They are just the opposite of the formal. Then we have the professional and lay leaders. The professional leaders are those paid employees or staff that has been hired in the specific organization, and they are confined to their own specific role because they are professional. For example, take an example like me. I'm a teacher, and my role is confined to my specific ability, right? My role is confined to that. I should teach because the organization has hired me to become a teacher, so I should teach. That is the professional leader. Whereas the lay leadership, okay, lay leaders are those type of leaders who are voluntarily participating in any of the organization with their self will. So the volunteers may be appointed to a committee, board, or other volunteer group to help the organization with an initiative. Then we have the political, religious, social, and academic. Political are the political leaders. Then religious, social, which are taking in any social participation, but any social function within the society, and academic, which is related to the institution, educational institution. Then we have the elected members, that means those members who are elected by the people. Then we also have the selected members, selected by the people, and nominated or selected by the people that we nominate them or select them. Then we have the popular and unpopular. The popular leaders, that means they are known to many people, they are popular, they are having the high standard, they are having the popularity among so many people. And unpopular leaders are those which are having less social contact with the people. Then we have the traditional and the progressive leaders. So the traditional leaders are those type of leaders in which the authority of the organization or a ruling religion is largely tied to traditions. Traditional means tradition, so they are the traditional leaders. So they will be the way of their leadership is that they are very tied to the custom and traditions of the organization. Whereas the progressive leaderships are those which are able to look outside their immediate workplace challenges and encompass a greater view. Progressive, when you are progress in something, that means you look for a bigger picture. So one where the benefits are broadened, we stretch beyond the executive or the company. These type of leaders are called as the progressive leaders. Now we are coming to the characteristic of the leaders. Like I have told you that I will go into details because these three are the very most important one among all the types of the leaders and the classification of the leaders that I have explained. The first one we have is autocratic, second is a democratic, and third one is a laissez-faire leader. These are the common leadership style. So number one, we have the characteristic is autocratic. Autocratic, what they are doing, they determine all policies, activities, and goals of the organization. They takes no part in any work except in conducting meeting, telling others what to do, or demonstrating. Then members are uncertain about what to do and usually take action they are told to take. See, they are bossy in nature. The members doesn't know what they have to do unless they are instructed to do. Then leader is personal in both praise and criticism of the work. So these type of leaders or autocratic leaders are very bossy in nature, like I have explained, and they just want the people to do the work that they will ask them to do. Then we have the democratic leader. The democratic leaders, they produce a shared leadership that permits a feeling of satisfaction achievement. They help the members of the group to understand the steps required in working. Members take more responsibility for group maintenance and task performance. So these type of leaderships, they allow the group members to be a part of the achievement, satisfaction, and also they are the ones who are always together with the people, and they will always see the people opinion in any of the decision making. Then the laissez-faire leader is that they give minimum guidance, remain in the background, and seldom express an opinion or work with a minimum of roles. Then the members often act as leaders in making decisions that guides the organization. They give minimum guidance. These are the leaders who are passive in nature. They doesn't want to do the work. They are just depending on the members to do the work. They'll be like, okay, it's okay, let them do. I'm giving them freedom to do. I'm the leader, but I'm giving them freedom to do. Let them make decision because they can do the work by themselves. Those are the laissez-faire leader. Then we have the role of leaders. This role of leaders has been categorized or given by Reddy in 1987. So number one is a spokesman. Okay, a spokesman. So when we talk about the spokesperson, right, a group spokesperson, that means a person who is chosen to speak for the group or organization. A leader should be able to speak up for the group. We don't want a leader who is becoming like just a puppet all the time. Like anybody can just you can just some of the leaders are like puppets. Other people will be speaking for them. They will just be there and stand still. They will act according to what the other people says. Those are not the good qualities of a leader. A leader should be able to speak for a group or for organization. Then we have the other qualities, that is harmonizer. What is harmonizer? A harmonizer is a group, a harmonizer meaning that a leader, he should be able to bring harmony. Someone who harmonize, a person who brings harmony. What is the harmonizer personality? That is a person who is very even tempered. All right, he is having a positive attitude. He is joyful. They seek a lot of social interaction and affirmation. These are the harmonizer. Then we have the group planner. So a leader should be a group planner. He should plan what is the objectives and goals of the organization. He should be able to plan that. He should be a group executive. I have explained what is executive. Executive is also the ability of the leaders to conduct meetings, okay, to conduct meetings, and also to execute the plans and the decision making within the organization. They are mostly managing the plans, decision, and connecting with the other people and their organization. So those are the role of a leader is to be a group executive. Then he should be a group educator or teacher. A leader should be able to teach, give advice to the people. Then symbol of group ideals. That means he should show his behavior according to what he wanted other people to behave. Then a group discussion chairman. A leader should be able to discuss. He should be able to lead the discussion when there is a meeting. Then a group supervisor. What is the role of a supervisor? To supervise the people, to help the group members to take action. The supervisors plays a role of responsibility and power. So a role of leader should be like that. He should be able to play his roles. He should be able to show his responsibility and powers within the organization. Now let us see the advantages and limitation of the local leaders. See, extension fundamental objective is the development of the people. Its aim is to achieve the objective through extension work. The clients are very large, and reaching the large numbers of the clients or the people therefore require a systematic approach. The extension organization needs to establish some communication channel to carry out the extension work. The local leaders, by virtue of their central position in the group, they play a very important role in the communication process and for the effective extension work. The extension work is not limited to the rural areas alone, but extends to the urban areas as well. A good local leader plays various roles in the extension program planning. Number one, we have the advantages is that having the local leaders, they play as the extension teachers virtually, and hence their volume of coverage with improved practice is increased. They help the people in identifying the needs and problems in their rural areas. So the coverage of the farming practices which the local leaders share with among the group, the people will easily adopt that farming practices or improved practices. So the chance of coverage of that particular technology will be more as compared to the situation where the outsiders or the unknown people to the group will come and disseminate the information to the people. Then the cost of extension is reduced because the local leaders are not paid. Then number three, local leaders themselves become better taught because of the experience they gain in teaching and influencing others. Not only that they improve their own knowledge and skill, but also they help in influencing other people and also share their knowledge and skill with other people. They aid the group by setting some example before them. Then number three is that number four, people accept a new idea more readily from a local person who has practically tried it, while they may resist if the ideas were to come from the paid extension workers. People will readily accept it, the idea that come from the person that they know, the person that they have trust on, rather than coming from a person who is not known to them. People will be skeptical if the person who is unknown to them come to their area and tell them about the new farming practices. They will not be easily and readily accepted that. Number five is that the frequent association of the extension personnel with the local leaders enhances its prestige or honor. Now let us see the limitations. Persons selected as leader may not have the expected following among neighbors. Sometimes these people that we select them as the local leaders, they might not be acceptable within the group or the community. Next is that sometimes they may not willing to devote their required time to work or may be a poor teacher. These local leaders, since they are not getting paid, so sometimes they hesitate to work for the people. Then number three, considerable time is required to locate and train the local leaders. The limitation is that we need time to train these local leaders and locate them or to find them. So that is another limitation. The last but not the least is that these local leaders may try to use prestige with position for personal advantage. So some of the local leaders might take this position or their prestige for their own self-benefit. Once they have the names within the locality, they will try to use their name as the personal advantage. So I hope you are clear with this chapter. If you have any question, always feel free to ask without any hesitation in the comment box, and I will clear all your doubts. Until then, I'll see you in the next class.